Hey kids, it's Misty Eyes with a little update. First of all, I want to remind you to please go to AlanChuckTravel.com and this link here to sign up for the Drag Queen Cruise with Misty Eyes and all the girls from RuPaul's Drag Race. This is going to be insane. It's going to be amazing. I actually recently did a video about it. I'll put a link here for you. And you have to come. This will be an amazing opportunity for me to hang out with all of you, each and every one of you that have ever wanted to hang out with me. Please sign up into my group. For example, I won't be in drag every day probably. I don't know. I'm not anticipating I'll be in drag every day. So if I'm on the sun deck hanging out, you won't know who I am. So make sure and sign up into my group so you for sure get a chance to meet me. Because girls like Sharon Needles and BB Sahara Bonet, you've seen them out of drag. You know what they look like. So if they're on the sun deck, you can hang out with them. But make sure and sign up into my group so we can for sure hang out with each other and get to know each other. And have our cocktail parties, etc. I'll put a link here so you know all the details. But also, I wanted to update and say, check out, I just did a video for Queen Thursday on the week today. It is all about bisexuality. A girl wrote in and asked Misty a while ago, asking if her husband is bi because he confessed to her that he has dated men in the past. So check out my answer on this link right here. But also, I wanted to do another update and thank you for all of your prayers and all of your blessings. I recently just went to Anchorage, Alaska to visit my family, where I'm from, and your prayers and answers have been heard and answered. It was the most amazing trip I could have ever hoped for. To be honest with you, it was much different than any other time I've been to Alaska to visit family. There was no real touristy things taken. There wasn't a lot of stuff done. It was really just about me in my heart, dealing with the things that I needed to deal with family. It was really good. I uploaded a lot of pictures on my Facebook photo album. I'll put a link here if I can. I can't do it with YouTube, but I'll put it in the sub thing, an actual link to my photo album. I found it very interesting, like some things, for example, everywhere we went there was moose and reindeer, which is actually caribou, being eaten. I guess it's like mahi's called dolphin, but people were eating caribou hot dogs and caribou things. So it's very weird, very fun. You might enjoy it. The last day I was there was the cloudiest, rainiest day I was in Alaska, so that wasn't very gorgeous. But I did go sightseeing with my mom. It was our last day together, and we talked about some stuff and did some emotional healing and sightseeing as well. I got to see some wild oxen, I think. I got to see some caribou, two different kinds. Some had black horns, some had not black horns. I got to see some moose. I got to see some baby moose and some big moose, adult moose. When I was little, the moose were everywhere. There was moose nuggets all over the place. In the snow, like by the mailbox and everywhere. They're all over the place. They're nocturnal, so I usually do stuff at night or early in the morning. But I remember trying to get on the school bus when I was little, and there was a moose standing next to the mailbox, or school bus, and I couldn't get on the bus because I was afraid to walk past the moose. I was terrified. It was maybe 10 feet away, maybe 8 feet, and I couldn't get on the bus because I was so scared. But I got to see some moose while I was there. I got to see some bear, but the picture, it was too far away. I couldn't get a good picture. And I was driving and I saw some white, I guess, rams or sheep in the mountains, but in the picture on my cell phone it looked like dandruff, I guess. You couldn't really tell what it was. But I did take some pictures. Again, it wasn't a touristy trip. It was mostly about emotional healing and bonding with my brothers and sisters. My youngest sister I hadn't seen, well, let's just put it this way. 4 of the 7 had been together for the first time since 1994. It was a very needed trip. You know, some things are left undealt with and unrectified, I guess. But on the other hand, a lot of things have been dealt with, and it was a much needed trip. I was scared to death to go. In my mind and in my heart, I was scared. I was a little gay boy that, you know, your aunts and uncles are like, ugh, he's queer. And even if they don't say it, you felt it. You felt it. And on this trip, nobody treated me like I was different. Everyone treated me like I was normal. Everyone loved me and whatever. I definitely felt people staring at me and looking at me. And nobody asked anything about my personal life because I think they were uncomfortable. But at the same token, they were, you know, comfortable with me. You know, nobody said, hey, so what do you do for a living? Everybody knew. Even people I didn't know knew what I did for a living. So that question was never brought up. I thought of answers to say, like, you know how Mickey Mouse has to dress up for Orlando? Well, I dress up too. You know, I thought of things to say like that, and I never had to. I was walking once with my Auntie Karen at the wedding, and she was walking in gravel and high heels, and she's like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, what? She's like, walk in these heels. I'm like, oh. And I just laughed. Because I wasn't prepared to talk about it. I wasn't prepared. So I know that everybody knows what I do. Most of my family, a lot of my family is friends with me on Facebook. Some of them were afraid that their friends would see me and whatever. And I'm not friends with them. But that's okay. You know, humanity. It's amazing the power we give other people over our lives. And that's just sad. I don't think that anyone should ever worry about what other people think of them. And it's so funny that as humans, that's all we worry about is what other people think. It's just really, really sad. But it was an amazing trip. I was full of tears. The waterworks were non-stop for like 2 hours before I left. Saying goodbye to my nieces and nephews was really hard, and my brothers and sisters was even harder. And my mom. Saying goodbye to my mom was really tough, because she's my mommy. You know, and she's like, when she's hugging me, whispering to my ear, she said something like, please don't push me away ever again. And I'm like, Mom, I never pushed you away, ever. She's like, I know. So in a way, I think she was telling me things like to herself, but to me. You know, and it doesn't matter. It's just that she said things. And I remember I have created my own little gay family, with drag family, but also gay family. And one of my gay dads is like this guy that hired me for my first official paying job in Fort Lauderdale in drag. He was a manager in a club, and now he owns his own business, Fab Scout, which I've talked to you about before. And he's been like my dad for the last 8+ years, and he's my family. And I was in a souvenir shop, and I was telling my mom, I'm like, oh God, I need to get something for Howard. And Mom was like, who's Howard? I'm like, oh, he's kind of like my dad. You know, if ever I needed to borrow money, which thank God I've never had to, but he would be the one I'd ask. Or if I was ever in jail, never had to, but he'd be the one I'd call to bail me out. And he's like my family. My mom was like, you know, in her way of saying, I accept you and love you, she's like, well, if he ever wants to visit Alaska, you know, he could stay with us too. And I'm like, Mom, he has a boyfriend, a husband or whatever, and he's not going to want to visit Alaska with me. And she's like, well, you know that if he did, and my adult brain knows subconsciously what she's saying is, please don't disappear. If you have somebody special in your life, you're allowed to bring them. So basically, Howard, if you ever want to visit Alaska, my mom said you could come. Anyways, it was a very weird trip. You know, it was a surprise trip, which means I didn't tell anybody I was coming except for my sister and one of my sisters and one of my brothers. So unfortunately, most of my family had to work, and they're, you know, getting ready for the wedding and things like that. Nobody had a lot of free time to hang out. So there was a lot of downtime where I was just sitting there playing with the kids, and that was just valued as well. So nothing about my trip I regret. I really only wanted to go for 3 days, and unfortunately, because of the price, I had to go from Monday to Monday. But I'm glad it happened. And I'm glad I went, and I think it was like a revival in my heart and in my soul. So now I come back to Fort Lauderdale, and hopefully this week, and I'll be able to finish unpacking and getting my life together. Because I was really not in a good place before I went to Alaska. Just, you know, losing my brother, and, you know, he went up to Alaska, and just, it was just tough for me, you know. And I'm in a good place now. Nothing is perfect, nothing is completely fixed or rectified, but it's a move in the right direction. And I just want to thank you for all your prayers and your things. So, in closing, make sure and sign up for your drag cruise so we can totally hang out in my group, of course. And thank you for your prayers. They're much appreciated. Thank you so much. Loving you, ZZ. Bye.